I find that tight clusters sometimes gives me really amusing maps on medium, because I usually play on medium myself. But then tight clusters, I end up with like these giant empty zones that are. I actually kind of like it.
Tight clusters are for.
It gives the map a
empty
little
zones. Yeah.
Gives the map a little flavor instead of just being sort of out there. Hello, everybody. It's Stardock stream. It's Friday, so that's exciting. And some of us might not even be working this weekend, which will be lovely for those of us who have that experience. We'll see. Not I, unfortunately. I have E3 prep to do.
Oh, yeah. That whole thing's happening.
Yes. I fly out on Monday.
I don't actually have to have anything to do with E3 this year.
I just learned that there will be stage makeup involved. So I'll be even prettier than normal.
Who's going? Just you?
Myself and Chris K, and Dan B.
Okay.
Because we're showing some stuff.
Usually I only hear it if Brad's going. Because Kristen will be like, yeah, Brad's going.
Sure. No. So E3 will be exciting. So you guys keep your eyes open for that. There will be some communications regarding that going out very shortly. But you all know the URL that you'll be wanting to go to, which is the URL that you're on currently. So, hooray. Anyway, we're here not to talk about E3, although we certainly can, but to talk about Galactic Civilizations 3.
Somebody redo this?
Oh, you got the manufacturing bonus right next to your capital. That's so sexy.
No, it's horrible.
What?
I guess it's.
Why would that be horrible? You get a level 4 factory immediately.
Yeah, but
I mean, what do you like?
I can't build a factory here.
So you only put 2 factories there, and you turn something else into your monstro factory planet, or you just put 1 factory there literally, and then build other stuff on this planet.
I haven't played as Altarians in a long time, so this will be an interesting.
I like Altarians. Okay, I don't know. They're not.
None of this has changed.
No, because this is basically
this is the build we just sent out, right? And we haven't done that much, but there's like little things. I'm like, oh, where's all the new tooltips?
Which is good because it means that new tooltips are going in, which is awesome.
Yes, but it's always annoying.
No, I don't think we staged that on.
No, that's fine. I don't think we're like in the. Our goal today is not really so much to pimp new features as to take questions and we'll start pimping new features, or 1.1 features probably next week, and then
next week
we're going on
vacation.
So I'm
going
to
indeed.
be.
I won't.
Everybody
I'm
will be gone on.
No, we only be off for 2 weeks because I'm not going to be here next week because I'm going to be in LA.
Okay.
So I guess you could stream with Ray if you want.
Kristen or me and Ray can do it.
Yeah, that's true. I'm kind of sad. I kind of wanted to learn about 1.1 features.
Well,
I suppose I
watch
could
watch it.
That's true.
The rest of everybody.
Or I could ask about 1.1 features and
so
probably
you
play the build.
Just check the build or the change log.
I do. I live a privileged life. 'Tis true. Question out of the chat. 104 soon. Are we doing a 104?
We are not doing a 104 unless something horrible happens. Unless there's a really big game breaker that we are not aware of.
Okay.
We don't. This is mostly a logistics thing. We don't want to do any patching during the Steam sale.
Right.
Because the Steam is a nightmare during this time. I mean, we love Steam. Not that it's not. It's just that very, very busy. Everything kind of works a little weirdly different during the Steam sale. And then the next thing should be 1.1.
Excellent.
That is the current plan. Like I said, unless we find some horrible game-breaking thing that we need to fix.
So I have a question for you because this has been on my mind, and I apologize. I'll get to your guys' questions shortly here, but this has been on my mind. It's a good discussion, I think.
Your guys' is not proper English.
All right, y'all's questions will be gotten to shortly. Do you feel better now, Paul?
No.
Oh, well, then I don't know what to tell you. Anyway, so where do you want the balance to be in terms of tech trees and racial traits and that sort of thing for Galciv 3? Like, do you want to have things be balanced so that everyone can be more or less on an equal footing in multiplayer? Or are you okay with some things being, that's kind of OP, but
I'm fine with things being OP as long as there are things that can counter them that are also OP in other races. I mean, we've always said that the game is primarily balanced for single player. We're not making a Twitch game, we of course try and balance. We're going to try and balance. We're always going to try and balance as much as possible, because I mean there are problems where like the AI will actually figure out. No, I guess figure out maybe is a strong word. Just from sheer math, we'll figure out how to exploit things. So we actually have to balance against the AI doing crazy things.
Sure.
So yeah, but like I said, our primary focus is to make sure that the single player game is fun. The problem is that we already get grief for not being differentiated enough, but the more differentiated you get, the more difficult it is to balance
totally
in multiplayer.
Yeah, I mean, my personal feeling, and this is really just Adam as a player, is that like OP is okay unless it's like so OP.
Yeah,
one of two things.
If it is the only way to win,
right,
then it's broken.
Like for instance, combining dense with intuitive is a little bit much, right? For tiny colony ships on turn 1 is a little
I think
much.
we've addressed that to some
Did you address
degree,
that? Okay,
yes.
hooray.
But and here's something that's killing me. What's this? I thought we fixed all those. There's never gonna be done. The one of the things that's killing me is that anything involving mass is currently almost impossible to balance, because
that's right,
it breaks people's ships.
Right.
That's why we had this whole issue with sensors. So just as a warning, we'll probably in maybe not 1.1, but in some future build, I'm going to have to make a balance pass on some of the mass things. And what we're going to end up doing is putting a option to show ships that exceed mass.
Oh, okay.
And then you'll be able to go through and edit them. But the problem is, I literally had, Aimster IM me and said, "Hey, dude, I've got 500 ships that you just broke."
Oh, geez.
And I was like, screw it. And I just reverted all the masses to what they used to be to solve this problem. But it's really game breaking. It's really crippling to balance, to have that be something we're never allowed to do. So that is something. So like the dense trait, the dense trait might be a little too powerful. I can't change it, because people will have designed ships that only work if you have dense, and then they're like, "Oh, my ships are all gone." Well, so those are things that we're going to keep working on and try and come up with ways to make it so that players can, move on with their lives and not have their ships ruined.
Sure. Chat agrees with you that ultimately you're going to have that the necessary evil is just, woof, that's a lot of pirates kind of early here. That the necessary evil of breaking some ships is worth it for
I think I might die
better balance.
It's fine.
They only have the
They have 10 lasers. I have no shields.
Oh, you have no shields? Okay, yeah, you'll probably die.
Oh, why did I quick battle?
I don't know.
Oh.
There you go. How many hit points do you have left?
Well, only about half.
Well, that's not too bad.
Not bad.
It could be worse.
Back home to recover for a couple turns. So yeah, we're working on that. All kinds of things like that that we kind of have to watch. The sensor thing is still just the bane of my life, and we're gonna address that in 1.1.
Are you going to get the diminishing returns math in there for 1.1?
I still don't love that solution, but it seems to be the only practical thing, and it's actually in a weird pseudo way the most realistic way to do it.
Yeah, it kind of is.
Because that's radio waves for the more volume.
Yeah,
square,
inverse square. Yeah.
So all of my math. Well, obviously you should just do that. It's like the other option that we thought of, and once again breaks a bunch of past ships, was make it so that you can only have one sensor on a ship.
Right.
And that seems like a practical thing, because that's how starbases work. But then we could make those sensors bigger, way more powerful.
Right.
But the problem is now I've got 1,000 ships where I designed 50 ships. None of them work anymore.
I mean, does anybody practically put multiple sensors on anything but sensor pods or sensor boats?
Well, I think before they all decided that sensor boats are the only way to go. Yeah.
Okay, maybe.
So, yeah. I mean, the default survey ship has multiple sensors.
Yeah, that's true. All right.
So,
All right, so I want to get to some questions, though, since that's what we're here to do. Why can the AI vote for anyone in the UP while the player can only vote for the top 6?
The AI should not be able to vote for anyone in the UP. That is a bug.
All right.
And I thought we fixed that like a billion years ago. So if that is still happening, that's a bug.
All right. Well, send us your saves.
It's a bug. Yes, please report that or just let us know in the forums.
Yes.
But I remember this happening, and I remember Nathan saying, "Oh, the AI was voting for people who were not in the top 6, and they fixed it." So hopefully that's an old bug, or they're misremembering. If it's still happening, we definitely need to fix that.
Totally. You need to finish off your research triangle there.
Do I, or do I not? That is the question.
No, enough.
I mean I don't. We all know I'm never going to finish this game.
That's probably true.
It's just a matter of can I keep busy until I decide to give up and soak because somebody asked a question that requires too much of my brain.
This is a good question from Sam Dominion. If I have 2 or more fleets or ships stacked in a hex, how is it determined which of those will be the first to respond to an attack on that hex by an enemy fleet? So this comes up with me all the time when I'm trying to guard my transports.
Honestly, I think we do account for that, but I don't know. I don't think they're supposed to be allowed to attack the unguarded ship first.
Okay.
I would imagine they attack the most powerful fleet. Because generally,
that would be the hope.
That must be how it works. Because if you attack a stack of death, you'll get to the end and it'll be like
a bunch of single
colony ship. So that's got to. But I will ask.
That's a good question, though. It's.
It would be nice actually to have the option to choose. But then again, we don't want. That
would suck for multiplayer and yeah.
I try and avoid having stacks. If I have a bunch of ships, I tend to send them to some place to get stationed.
I do too. Really, where it comes up for me is with transports and colony ships and trade boats. And
I usually only make transports when I need them, and so I don't end up with stacks of them.
I only make transports when I need them too. But when they're literally in the process of flying into enemy territory.
Yeah. In that case, put a freaking ship in the fleet with them.
Well, yeah, but practically what I realistically do is blow up all the enemy ships and then fly my transports.
Yeah,
that works pretty well.
That is also the very valid.
So all right, let's see. We got some taunting about the twins, which is totally fair. All right. Will we, in the future, be able to use diplomacy to get races to go to peace with each other? Yes. Brokering peace and war and stuff is a common request. I know that's. I'm
still trying to figure out what you're talking about.
Okay. So go into diplomacy.
Oh, the twins, the Minnesota twins.
Yes. Sorry.
All right. I thought. Are you talking about that one weird race where the 2 people are split in half? Okay. Yes.
Some of us have lives outside.
Yes, we're doing more of that. Yes.
Yeah, so no, that's
as a matter of fact, we're also going to figure out a way to let people do stay off my lawn.
Yes, yeah, that's another common request, and we'll get those in at some point. I don't know. I don't think they have a
probably 1.1. Yeah,
are they are going to make 1.1?
Well, at least some enhancement in 1.1,
okay.
Maybe others
Nice.
in 1.2.
Nice. All right. People are saying that Altarians need the Ultra Terraformer. People are very upset about that.
I was going to give them back the Ultra Terraformer. I might actually make up something new because I like the idea of it being different. But I will admit, at this point, not having Ultra Terraformer,
sucks.
Although the funny thing is that the whole point of Ultra Terraformer was you're so far into the game that it doesn't matter.
Yeah, but
people must race to that sucker. It's like, why do you care if you have level 30 planets at the end of a map where you own half the galaxy already?
Yeah.
On a huge map, that's not that far in.
It's true. Me personally, I don't really play on larger than large maps. So, that's just me. People on the team do. I don't want people to think that
wager that but a lot of people don't even ever get anywhere near Ultra Terraformer before the game's over. But those are not the people who are listening to this stream. They know
that's
how.
True.
Yeah, so
that's true. All right. We had a question about how does trade work. You research trade, and then you build a trade ship, and you send it.
How do trade routes
Yes,
work?
yes, and then you send it to a planet from another empire. You can't trade with yourself,
Nope.
and Yeah, there are no internal trade routes, so you have to go to another empire, and then it sets up the trade route, and the trade route sort of happens until and unless you go to war.
You're supposed to be able to do it with the same planet multiple times, and I think that might have never been implemented. So that is something. If it isn't letting you do with the same planet, that will be coming.
It's nice though. It's cash money, which is helpful.
Oh, if you're not trading, you're playing the game wrong. Well, that's not true. If you just want to kill everybody. But if you
want to kill everybody, tell you what helps kill everybody? Fat stacks.
Fat stacks, but trade is a great diplomatic thing. Especially
That's true.
If you have allies or miners. Miners are really just cash cows.
Oh, they totally are. Miners, a little tip for those of you who haven't done this on your own. Selling off all that Durantium to the miners for cash money is so massively OP.
Well, that's not cool.
Oh, it's so good. Well, they'll give you
do they do anything with it?
They might. I don't know. They give you giant piles of money is what they do. It's like I think the base value is like 333
We should probably
or so.
make it so that as you get an excess of a resource,
but they don't. They won't ban. Yeah. No, and that might even be the case. I just tend to go, like, I place a big premium on scouting, so I go out and I find a bunch of miners, sell off all my resources because I tend to pound for resources really quickly.
See, now that's that's actually a good technique. That's not necessarily
true
an exploit unless it's, because I generally don't bother with resources until I need to fight somebody.
And and I am spending a lot of resources on mining starbases and constructors and the technology to do it. So it's not. It's a strategy. I don't know if it's the best strategy. I'm sure somebody who plays a ton of multiplayer is probably going to be like, "That's terrible. You're awful at this game." But whatever. We survive. All right. Let's see. Any chance of improving the command interface to show the actual cost of upgrading ships instead of ending with minus 20,000 credits?
It doesn't already?
I thought it did.
Oh, in here. Upgrade 2.
Ships of 10.
Yeah, good idea.
We should totally do
that. Well,
that.
also, the one of the things I want to get in, it might not get in 1.1, but I want to bring back leasing.
You've been talking about bringing back leasing for a long time.
But it's one of those things where it's like not very many people ask for it, but I think they'd appreciate it. But yes, and then we have a little area for context area. It would be nice. At the very least, when you mouse over it, it should say, this will cost a zillion. And as a matter of fact, if you end up with negative 25 credits, there must not be a gate that's stopping you. So that's a problem.
That's probably the larger issue.
That is a bug.
Or maybe not the larger issue, but it's definitely an issue.
Well, that's what leases are for, so you can buy into the negative.
Because, man, upgrading ships is expensive.
It is either
so expensive.
Too expensive or too cheap, depending on the instance.
It's
I'm going from transport to, what everybody's favorite exploit is they get the 3 transports, turned them in, the constructors,
right?
Turned them in and they're like, oh, it's super easy, super cheap. And then the next thing is like, well, upgrading this ship costs too much, and it's like, so it's a balancing thing.
You just
the bane of my life these days.
If I were the God King of Galactic, I just prevent people from upgrading into anything with a
population.
Yeah, a transport or colony ship. Because
I don't. As long as they don't get people, I don't care. Why is that?
Sure. Oh, that's fair. If they get 0 people, but don't they come with people when you?
No, they shouldn't. If it do, that's also a bug.
Well, there you go.
Maybe that's why because I'm like, oh no, that's fine. Well, it's giving them free people. Well, that would definitely be a problem. So I will check on that.
Let's see. The CW says that giving ship components a mass multiplier percentage, so a ship component that reduces mass by some multiplier,
is useless because you have to have that component on to.
Right, but it creates it might be something that he's modding. Creates a diminishing return by making that effect per mass less when you use multiple ship components, which sounds like working as intended, because otherwise you could have like 0 mass. So I guess CW, I don't totally understand.
Is he talking about, is this like a mod or something?
Yeah, I don't totally understand.
We don't have any components that lower mass because it would cause a nightmare.
Right.
Because it's like having a component that lowers logistics. Right. It's like you lowered the logistics, but you can't put a ship in here until that ship is in there. And if it's a tech that lowers the mass of a quantity, that's how we do it. Is we make sure like this lowers the weight of all lasers. That's how we get away with stuff like that, because that way, no matter what your laser was, all the lasers dropped or all the mass drivers.
Right.
Or the capacity of the ship went up. Whereas if you said, I put this on, now I have less, it increases mass or increases capacity by a percentage, it would be problematic. Now, it would be interesting as a modding experiment to make a thing like that does a flat. And you just say, oh, if I put this on, it gives me 10 more, and I could put 10 more on.
Sure.
And that would be
because it would increase capacity. Yeah.
It would increase capacity. You don't want to do it the other way around. You're just asking for trouble.
Right.
But if he's talking about if there's a specific component that is doing that, then that might be a bug, and he should let us know. But it sounds, if it is a mod, then yeah, don't do that.
Okay. We have a question from Flash X Aaron about plans for the future, which I don't totally understand the question. So maybe try to, if you want us to answer that, try to make the question a little clearer and put it in the chat, and I'll try to get to it later. Let's see. Bigger multiplayer maps, question mark.
No. Oh, wait.
I mean, unlocking the bigger multiplayer maps.
Are they locked right now?
Did we unlock all of them in 103?
You know, honestly, I'll have to ask. I know I can test on them. And I'm making custom multiplayer maps for the future, and I've been making larger ones, so they better work. So I will check on that. I know at one point we limited them because of technical issues, but I thought we had fixed that.
Right.
I will confirm that.
Okay. Any possibility to add some faction colors? I think you were talking about adding the faction color picker at some point, right?
Yes,
Creating
it's
factions.
not quite as simple as just adding a color picker, because we actually use a gradient now. So what you'd actually have to do is have a color palette picker that then tints a gradient that is then used as the ship thing, which is what we're going to do. But that is actually way more work than just saying the base color is red. So we have to make essentially, if it's this color, then it uses this texture, but with this tint. And that's just an extra step that goes into the shader and requires a little bit of work, which is why it's not in yet. But it will show up maybe in 1.2, probably the first time we actually get to do give some more love to. Actually, no, it'll probably come in when we get ship style sharing onto Workshop. Right now, we're going to just have ships. But I want to be able to make, like, you know, how when you're playing the Terran.
Oh, sure. You pick your ship style or whatever.
You know, my frigate looks like this.
Mm-hmm.
Right? You're going to be able to make this whole style.
Right.
And once you can make that whole style, we'll also let you pick the colors of it, blah, blah, blah. And then players can, of course, override it.
Totally. All right. Quick one. Do thrusters provide a dodge bonus or a miss chance when the ship using the thrusters gets fired upon?
Thrusters, yeah. If you're moving fast enough, it will actually reduce your chances for getting hit.
Okay.
But it's not like jamming. If you want to be missed, put jamming on your ship.
Okay. Fair enough. Let's see. How many hours did it take to test this game before you released it? Always kind of curious with games so complicated.
1 billion.
A freaking jillion, though, man.
We're testing
so many.
We're testing from day one, and then QA is testing, and then players are testing. If you count, founders and stuff,
I mean,
it's
a lot,
millions.
Yeah,
I have no idea. And we're a small team, and it's not like we're, Warcraft or even Civ.
Right.
We're a very
Civ is a hilariously larger team than we are.
Yeah, I mean. So we're a very small team, and we do have QA here, and they are very rigorous and work their butts off. But
right,
it's hard. The good news is generally we know what to look for. That's why we love good QA. I mean, good bug reports and stuff that can point us. Hey, you guys screwed up this XML, and it's like, oh man, that saved me so much time.
Totally,
knowing where to look.
What are your thoughts on being able to dispute when a race surrenders and make a claim on their colonies yourself? I always have mixed feelings on the oh, you're beating us up, so we're going to give the Drengen all of our stuff. I have mixed feelings on that because I'm like, really? Come on. I did all the work of beating up the Altarians, and then the Drengens get all their stuff. Come on. But at the same time, it prevents some of the snowball.
Well, no, the whole point of that is, there's multiple points in that it's unrealistic for somebody who really hates you.
They wouldn't just give you all their
here's
stuff.
all our stuff. Now that would be an interesting type of like surrender treaty or something where you can essentially, but that opens up giant exploitiness and it's really hard to balance. The other main and the more potent gameplay reason is as you snowball through a game, as you're killing things, the problem is you become so powerful. And I just took out the drench and now I'm twice as powerful.
Right.
The game's over. So what we can do is if if you're almost as powerful as, all three of these people together, one of them goes down, he then surrenders to the other. Now there's a race that is a challenge to you again.
Right.
And the game has not just become a slugfest.
Right.
So, it's very deliberately done that way to make keep late game from becoming mop up.
Sure.
And even still, we still have a lot of, times where we have to really be careful about that.
Totally. All right. Creature of Existence has a theory about something about the lines the mining starbases generate and shipyards that is causing some lag. I would say put that on the forums would be a good place for that.
I don't know how it could, but yeah, if you have a theory, we're always willing to listen to it.
I wish I had an option to turn those off.
Really?
Yes.
It's funny because we literally get people all the time. There's not enough lines on the map.
Really? Oh, God. I hate those.
I don't have a problem with turning them off, but then the problem is what I actually originally, in the original design, they didn't show up unless you selected the ship.
Which, and that would be fine because then you can see quickly see, what is this thing mining or whatever.
Yeah, but the problem is, then people are like, well, is that being mined? And whereas this is like it, and also in the defense, and this is like in Cal Civ 2, we had the asteroid mining. We'll probably bring that back. You had all these lines, and it makes the map come to life a little. As a matter of fact, one of the Eurogamer or somebody just was like, I really miss all the lines, but in one of our reviews. So yeah, that's it's a either or thing. I do kind of like the idea of making it optional, though.
Okay. Let's see. Are there any plans to have an option for even slower tech development and more expensive ships? Yes. That's something that a lot of people have asked for.
Yeah. It's not so much even slower tech development is we're going to make it tied to habitable planet count.
Okay, sure.
So if you have slow, you already have it on slow, but you have 1,000 planets, slow is going to mean something.
Okay,
a lot slower
sure.
than if you had 4 planets.
Sure.
And we have to do that because otherwise it's really hard to balance it. So we're gonna make essentially a habitable planet count that the game knows about. So matter of fact, I guess if you were really crazy, you could go, oh man, it's taking me longer to count that there must be, if I do this and I times it by 807, there must be 807 habitable planets out there. So, we got to, we're going to look into that. But that is the plan.
There is something I saw some people talking about, like in Civilization 4, people would, there was some weird thing in the demographics screen where you could see where you placed or where somebody else was and literally figure out what the first tech that they researched was because of the way that it influenced the demographic screen. Players.
That's terrifying.
Players are.
These are the things that make my nights dramatic.
That's right. All right. Let's see. Are there any plans to rebalance the amount of research on each map, resource on each map? Durantium is way more common, blah, blah, blah. This is something we get a lot.
We're toying with it, but mostly we want Durantium. The problem is that I want Durantium to be more common because asteroids are very common.
Right.
Otherwise, what ends up happening is you end up with no Durantium, and then it becomes really hard to find. I'm actually more concerned right now that there's not enough antimatter.
There's very little antimatter.
Yeah, and that's Brad made a quick change that I didn't notice until it was shipped, and antimatter is very rare right now.
But it's so good. It's okay that it's rare.
Well, but it's so too rare right now.
Right
it needs
now.
to be about double what it is right now.
Yeah.
So we will all. Here, open question 2. Are there any thoughts about rebalancing? Yes. Rebalancing everything. Like I said, I was bitching about earlier is yes. As a matter of fact, Gal Civ 2, we rebalanced it forever. And I think Brad made a patch of it a year ago. we have to, this type of game, it's such a numbers-based game, we have to be able to do that. And it's kind of hard because we are also such a flexible game, primarily anything that touches ship designs.
Sure. Okay. Have you considered not letting the trait rush a shipyard?
The trait rush a shipyard.
Oh, the Terran thing. I'm guessing.
I have considered that. As a matter of fact, it is a task, and I asked for that to be done, and it has not gotten done.
So we have considered it. All right.
Yes. No, because right now you can. As a matter of fact, the problem is we have to do it in code, whereas I was just going to make it so that a planet could only build one. But there are some people who, for some reason, build multiple shipyards on a planet and then send it out. Whereas if I just made shipyard a unique to colony, like a colony can only build one at a time. As long as it has one, it won't. But that adds all kinds of code. So we're just going to literally make it so rush does not work.
Fair enough.
Or this particular trait, which is painful as a designer or a coder or anything where it's like this one thing.
Yeah. Oh.
Makes the programmers flinch and cry.
Let's see. Make upgrade costs scale with mass, with heavier ships being relatively cheaper per mass unit is a suggestion from Big Rectangle. It's not a terrible idea, although that'd be kind of interesting.
The difference has nothing to do with mass. It just has to do with you're upgrading to more expensive components.
You know what would be kind of interesting? Actually, I wouldn't hate that idea because small ships are terrible right now, and you should basically only ever build the biggest ships that you can build. So it would be kind of interesting if smaller ships were easier to upgrade. That'd be kind of interesting.
Well, no, what he is suggesting, I think, would be the opposite.
That would be the opposite. So I hate that idea, but I like my inversion of it.
Yeah.
Is it a bug that you see starbase lines to resources, even in the fog of war? Presumably.
It is kind of a bug / unfortunate feature.
Okay.
The problem is it's not a bug so much as it's too hard to hide them because of the nature of the way the lines work.
Oh, okay.
We might eventually figure out a way to fix that.
Sure. Okay, this is an interesting question. What adjacency bonuses do pluses to military enable? Only planetary defense and resistance? Do they also affect military productions, as players on the forum seem to believe? This seems massively underpowered. Few players build these facilities.
They are underpowered right now, but they do affect military production if the military improvement, like the Hyperion shipyard or something like that, is on a military thing, it's getting a bonus that will apply because it's a military bonus. And if that thing is a bonus to the shipyard somehow, then it would then give a bonus to the shipyard. But by its nature, no. The military things are literally whatever is a military improvement. And right now that's mostly the Hyperion improvements
and like the
planetary defenses.
Right. So the question is, how do we make those better, I guess? Because I rarely build them myself.
Yeah, most people do. Although I will say, and that might be because there is some issues right now with invasion still being a little too easy.
Yeah,
but I will say the planetary defenses are very useful in defending, but people tend to play very offensive and they don't bother. And I don't think the AI is honestly building enough planetary defenses, and that makes invasion too easy. That's kind of neat looking. Yeah, I'm looking into that. I was thinking of either both just making less of them, but what I think we're going to do is just essentially kind of keep them as they are, and then in the expansion when we introduce agents and stuff and commanders.
Oh yeah,
those improvements will be tied to the military.
Okay, so that would make it more interesting for sure.
I'd actually like to just make a bunch more of those types of things in general.
Let's see. How about a command for ships to hunt enemy ships and explore if there's nothing to hunt, like in Gal Civ 2?
We're looking into some stuff like that. We're going to add a couple more directives.
Okay. Will you design the silliest ship ever for us? You guys didn't see what came out of our QA lab back in alpha, which we probably can't show on the stream.
Actually, that'd be kind of an awesome.
It would be an amusing
Steam
challenge.
contest.
Yeah, it
like
would. Well, in 1.1,
design the silliest looking ship.
In 1.1,
there's some.
Have
everybody designs
workshop.
amazing things. I want to see something weird.
Let's see. Are there any plans for any large-scale automation for the foreseeable future to handle like huge maps? Governors are the big thing.
Yes.
And are those 1.2?
They will not be in 1.1 because that's primarily modding stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, we're working on governors. I'm working on some more commands.
Okay.
I'm also working on clarifying the rally point system is pretty lame right now.
Yeah.
So we're going to kind of give that a facelift.
I've been playing so much RTS lately. Like all I want to do is be able to like drag select all my ships and send them somewhere. Which
Did we? I think we disabled drag select, right? Because
I believe so.
Yeah. And it's hard. It's hard to do in this because everybody has different moves.
No, it totally is. It's just like, just as a player, like that's all I want to do. Like all you idiots go over here because there's murder to get done.
Yeah. Well, the good news is we're not an RTS, but we can rework some of these things to make life a little easier.
Sure. Let's see. Can we get an auto upgrade for starbases if they have constructors available and it was maxed? Now a new piece is unlocked just to have them all auto upgrade.
We've talked about that. I'm not in love with it just because because there's multiple things you can upgrade. So essentially what we'd end up needing is Starbase Governor, who's like, my priorities are these.
Would you though? Because the question is, so you have a starbase that's maxed, but it still has available constructors.
Okay?
Oh,
I see what he's saying.
And then once you research something, all the applicable starbases that have extra constructors would just automatically.
That's not a bad idea.
That is not a bad idea.
It's certainly something to consider. We're going to give starbases and shipyards and all these a little bit of an upgrade. I'm not quite sure when yet. So that would be kind of an interim thing, and I don't know if it's worth doing if we're just going to change it. So I'll look into it.
Chibiabos1 says that there's a galactic ideology event that is supposed to reduce mass for all components. Unfortunately, it currently reduces mass capacity for all hulls.
Is that true?
That sounds like an XML error, if so.
Oh, no, that better not be true.
I mean, it's just a matter of using the wrong flag.
Matter of fact, that's a stupid event, too. I must not have made that. No, because what's the point of reducing the mass of everything?
That would be weird.
Because people could then build ships that would
become illegal, right?
So the good news is if that is true, I'm probably going to kill that event, and we'll make it do something else.
There you go. Let's see. He says he thinks it's the evil one, maybe called Brutal or something. Or is he thinking of an ideology trait, not a galactic event? Is there an ideology trait that is supposed to reduce
mass?
Component mass? I mean, I don't know. I didn't design the ideologies. Although I should take Malevolent more often. The problem is the 3 constructors are so freaking good that it's like I almost feel the need to go pragmatic. Anyway, as you investigate that.
If he's still around, what Brutal? I think he's talking about the race trait.
Oh,
there's a race trait called.
That reduces dense reduces.
Yeah, dense is a mass.
Yeah, I don't know. And
I
dense
don't know what
certainly
he's talking
works.
about. Actually, yeah. If you can more information on that, would be helpful.
All right, fair enough. Let's see. Will the AIs gang up on you like in Galciv 2? I kind of wish the AIs had a tendency to ally more.
They will if you have the right mix. The problem is right now we go so out of our way to make everybody kind of feel alive that they tend to get too mad at each other to ally. They will, but like if you have a bunch of good races in the map, they will tend to. But if you have a nice healthy mix, and if they're too far away from each other, it is pretty easy for people to kind of go for the throat.
Sure.
But, that's diplomacy, and those are the types of things that we'll be continuously adjusting.
Sure. Any chance of making some of these starbase upgrades available to non-military starbases? Things like hyperfield disruption and slipstream generators are only available to military, and that is frustrating for this player.
Hyperfield. Oh, he wants the slow and
some of those
the movement ones. I might consider moving somewhere else.
To be honest, I basically never build military starbases.
They're very useful if you're playing on like really high level difficulty where you need to fortify.
Okay.
But if you're playing aggressive, they're almost useless because
and I tend to play very aggressive.
Yeah.
So
because the whole point of a military starbase is to strengthen your fleets in an area.
Sure.
Like you can essentially with a good military starbase, you can make a planet like almost and its ships like almost,
Fair enough.
undefeatable.
Fair enough.
So,
let's see. Oh, I suppose because planets always are at the logistics cap, so you can really have a giganto.
Yeah, I mean,
very
you can
difficult.
do some crazy.
Yeah, fair enough. Let's see. Will we ever get CNN News back? A list of who's a list of who's strongest?
You probably will, because it's one of those things where it's like we've gone through this whole phase of we wanted to lower the pop-up spam. Right?
Sure.
And
which
I always felt, and everybody was really happy about. But then at some point you realize, well, that took away some flavor.
Sure.
So I'm fine with bringing some of those things back and then having them be optional to turn off, like we did in Custom 2.
All right.
But it will bring them back judiciously. I don't want to go full. Also, we need to. You have to do some code to make sure that those things are entertaining and actually informational instead of just,
hey, the Drengen have the biggest military. Like, thanks for the info. Do smaller ships evade more often?
Yes.
All right. They still suck. Small ships should be buffed. Just saying.
Well, I will say that you say smaller ships should be big, but carriers are too powerful.
True.
And what do carriers have?
No,
There's
that's
a
true.
Bunch of small ships.
Yeah,
the problem is that you don't want to carry around a fleet of 20 ships. But if a fleet of 20 ships with good weapons will almost always take out one ship with equal weapons because they're getting 20 attacks a turn. So that's the thing to account for. It's one of those things. It's really hard to balance because I know exactly what you say. Why would I ever?
It might be a logistics cost thing to some extent. The problem that I have is that I feel like personally, and maybe my math is wrong. I don't know. But I feel personally like I always want to build the biggest ships that I can. To some extent, that's kind of okay because it's part of the tech progression, right?
Yeah.
It's like well, I unlock
I think
ships
that's a
and that should be
perfectly
great.
valid technique, but it isn't as straight forward as that.
Sure.
I think.
That's fair. That's fair.
Because I mean, if you can crank out 20 freaking tiny ships in 5 turns, or over 5 star bases, and then send them to a rally point, that little fleet of death will, and you can just make another 20, make another 20. Whereas those big ships costing you a lot of money, a lot of time.
And did anybody really miss chewing through 20,000 Alkari tinies in Master of Orion 1?
Yeah. So
Well, I did because Master of Orion 1 is brilliant and doesn't get enough credit because it gets overshadowed by Mu 2, but it's a better game in a lot of ways. Just saying. Anyway, but we're here to talk about Galciv. Let's see. I loved playing Galciv 3 in beta. Keep up the awesome work. Thanks, Nicolao Nerio. That's a very kind note. Paul's a little quiet. Well, Paul, be louder. Why aren't carrier modules stackable, but trade modules aren't?
Trade modules are not stackable because
The ship gets consumed.
the ship gets consumed, one, and the trade route value is based on the trade route length and its age. It's not based on the number of modules. So building 2 modules would really be pointless.
Well, you'd
and
be
if
able
we
to
let people
have
put
that ship then go to a
multiple
second.
modules on it, then I feel it would get exploitable. And so I don't know. It just didn't seem like it was worth it to make them stackable.
Sure.
That may change someday if I can come up with a good gameplay reason for them to be stackable.
Sure. Let's see. Sorry. Immediately following that, which I hadn't actually read yet, was what's the benefit of stacking trade modules even? There you go.
There currently is 0.
Let's see. All right. I think I saw an idea on the Galciv 2 forums ages ago where different hull sizes could get unique modules, like stealth for smaller ships and maybe massive weapons and fighter bays for larger ships.
We played with something like that earlier on in the design, but it kind of goes a little against like the whole grain of ship design being so freeform. We really don't want you. I mean, if you this is our sensor buoy problem, again, We don't want to say you can't build this. I mean, for very few things are one per ship because of that. And if we said, oh, you can only build that on small. Now, that's not to say we won't do that at some point or have a variation of that. But the whole point of ship design is we want people to be able to come up with crazy designs. The only time we intervene is when they become ridiculous, overpowered.
I personally am so lazy. I just tend to grab whatever my biggest hull is, jam a bunch of weapons on it, maybe some defenses. Well, definitely some defenses, and just crank out that one design until I get the next missile or whatever. That's how I do, because I'm a terrible person. But
I think that's especially late game. That's what a lot of people do.
People are saying that the Shrinker and the Logistics Center adjacency bonuses get really OP really quickly.
There you
go.
So
don't buff military adjacency.
There you go. No, and that is probably true because I think they're all flats.
Oh gosh, yeah. So
but that's actually kind of cool. I mean, we want them to get, because they're hard. There's not that many of them.
Sure.
So we want them to be powerful.
But
the problem is maybe they're too powerful.
Yeah.
I look at that.
Fair enough. Let's see. Why does celestial tourism cost so much in the Kryn tech tree? Is it actually any more expensive? I feel like tourism is always a little expensive because tourism is usually right at the end of Age of Expansion.
I would have to check on that. It might be a bug. It might be literally like because it's in a different place than everybody else's. It's one tier up.
Could be.
I
don't know.
It might also be that I was just wanted to give the Kryn a negative.
Which honestly they could use.
Yeah. So I will look at it, but I would have to see by how much. So much is the question. What is so much?
Fair enough. Let's see. Are you going to optimize the late game experience when you go over 200 colonies? The game becomes really very slow. From a performance perspective, I mean, if your machine isn't up to it, that's kind of going to be the case.
Well, yeah. The answer is yes. We're going to continue to optimize the late game experience. We like to think it's not so bad right now, but yeah, there's always ways to make it faster, and we'll be working on that type of thing. That's part of the management things that we were talking about earlier.
Sure,
governors getting
governors in the Starbase
points.
I want to get help a lot.
I want to get better directives. I want to get some rally points that build fleets, more directives, things like that. That at the late game you just say, you go to this, and then you don't even have to pay attention to that thing.
Sure.
That will speed the game up a lot.
Totally. Let's see. What are some of your ideas for Galciv 4? Jacob, relax. We just launched Galciv 3.
Well, I have ideas for Galciv 4.
Of course we do.
I don't even know if I'm going to be allowed to to think about it. So, but I actually am hoping to do the design for Galciv 4 as well, because I feel like I've learned so much that I like. Oh, now I know how I can do some more crazy stuff and still keep the spirit of the game. Whereas I worry if we give it to a different designer, which we'll say, I mean, it's not anytime soon. Yeah. So I might be doing something entirely different. It needs to be somebody who really loves the game and knows what the heart of the game is.
Sure.
And not someone who just wants to make it different because it's different.
Sure. Let's see. WASD coming to 1.1?
It's on the list. I don't know if it is coming to 1.1. I know that we are going to do that.
I want WASD. I'm not going to lie to you.
Let me check. Is it? Nope.
Oh, yeah, because D is still the debug menu. I always forget about that. I hit it once in a while. I'm like, seriously? We still have the debug menu in release?
Well, it's actually very helpful.
I'm sure it's helpful to you, but it's weird that it's not hidden for
I'm surprised it's not really. Because we want to be able to see in release what people are getting.
Sure. All right. Do you specialize your planets? Well, I specialize my planets because I don't want to be terrible at the game, and you're kind of going to be terrible if you don't specialize.
It depends on a couple things. Specializing your planets is almost always a good idea. If you have a big enough empire, then it doesn't really make a difference. So if you're playing a huge map and you have 1,000 planets and you have 20 planets already and you're at war with nobody, then you could essentially build up enough infrastructure to where you're fine without specializing.
Yeah, but you're still going to be better.
You'll still be better if you specialize.
Yeah.
But also, specialization is very flexible. I tend to specialized, but not overly specialized. If you go just all manufacturing, you tend to end up with a planet that's just miserable all the time.
I'll occasionally go all manufacturing. I do usually have at least some manufacturing on every planet.
Plus, you need people. That's the other thing.
You do need some food, and you generally
yeah.
need some morale, or at least you want some morale. It's not necessarily the end of the world if you don't have.
Well, also one of the things that people I don't think that is actually probably OP, but most people don't do. Is
jam economic starbases everywhere.
economic starbases with morale stations.
Oh yeah, why would you not?
Yeah,
they're
and
so
then
good.
You can essentially it's hard because you have to build a lot of infrastructure to do it. But you get 3 morale starbases that are giving you all these factory bonuses, research bonuses, and morale bonuses. Then you can essentially blow your morale improvements on your planet up and
No, the morale improvements are like way better than any of the other improvements to an economic starbase. The other ones are only kind of okay. Yeah. I tend to only build them if the planet is already heavily specialized, because because it's like 5%, 10%. It's like another factory would give me another 50, right? So like it's
a good point.
It's not a gigantic bonus, especially when you're already at plus 200%. Another plus 10% off of plus 200%. You're only really increasing the output of that planet by 3%, right? Because you're going from 300 to 310. So that's only a 3.3% boost.
I mean, you get 3
5 for the first
with
one.
4 O's on it.
I guess.
You got another 150% by the time if
you're
one of these crazy people. But say you're on Mars, you only have one factory or whatever. I mean, you can do some crazy stuff with the starbase.
I don't know. Or I could build more murder machines and get my murder on, which is usually what I end up doing, to be honest. Although I'm totally with you. The morale improvements are amazing on starbases, for sure.
And I don't know if people use them.
And the first upgrade, the literally the economic ring itself is extremely powerful. Because
it's amazing. Yeah.
Because that gives you raw production or raw manufacturing. Did we rename that, by the way, or is it still called raw manufacturing?
It's raw production.
Okay, raw production. Good.
And that is actually in the new tooltip, which will be in 1.1.
Hooray.
It actually shows all that.
Hooray.
And is much more clear to the player.
Let's see. Are you aware of the XML issue where there is a predefined medium missile ship that shows up in the ship list as a large hull? That sounds like a weird XML issue. We should track that down.
There's a medium ship that shows up as a large... For what race?
I don't know.
Yeah, get more information on that.
All right.
No, that shouldn't be happening. I thought we were pretty careful about that. So yeah, if that is happening indeed, let me know, and so we can track that ship down.
All right. Oh, the Galactic event that with the weird like capacity or mass or whatever issue has been reported on the forums, so we'll check it out on the forums. All right, good to know. Let's see. I love the random encounters you get with planets. For example, some give bonuses while others receive negative traits. Will there be additional traits made later or rare traits found? Rather than just like flat, like, plus 20 research, minus 10 approval, whatever, stuff like that.
Yes and no. Yeah, we're going to continue to beef those things up a little. Yeah.
All right.
It's hard to, we want to be careful adding, everything kind of comes down to being a modifier of something. So, something as special is because it's big or because maybe it modifies 2 things or 3 things or, whereas just inventing brand new traits adds a balancing nightmare to everything.
Sure. So. Here's an interesting idea from Alstein. Change the size scaling on parts depending on ship size. That might balance the smaller ships out, make them faster or whatever. So like engines don't take as much space on smaller ships, which engines might already do that. I don't actually know if you have that set up because like I said,
we have talked about doing that. It's not something that isn't considered.
Okay.
But it's not anything we'll be doing anytime soon.
Okay. Let's see. Any chance of getting multiple selects for the ships being built? If you have a whole bunch of constructors and then you want to build some warships quickly, you have to move each one to the top of the list. Oh, he's saying for the shipyard queue, grabbing multiple things. I mean, I guess the answer is don't jam your queue full of like 40 things. And I mean, I
wouldn't mind having a move to top.
A move to top would be nice.
Because we already have, we already have some command buttons here.
You know what I wish I could get is, and maybe this is just me, but a repeat the whole queue button. So I could have like build 2 missile boats and then a transport, and have it just keep cycling 2 missile boats and a transport, 2 missile boats and a transport.
Apparently, I just lost.
Oh.
2 missile boats. Oh,
so like it repeats the whole queue instead of just repeating one item.
You guys are never happy.
That's true. We are not. Let's see.
So wait a second. We're talking about one of the things we're going to break that everybody's going to be mad about because they exploit it horribly. Is we're going to make it so if you're synthetic, you can no longer pick negatives to anything related to food. Because what people will do is go in here and say, I'm synthetic, but I'm a horrible farmer.
Oh, right.
So now I get 2 free points. So we're going to fix that. Nice. I'm actually going to be doing also a balance pass on all of these.
I think that'll help a lot. I think, well, because, dense and intuitive, man.
Dense is ironically one of the ones I don't know if I can ever fix. Because everybody will hang me by my neck until dead when my ships are dead. So.
Possibly. And dense wouldn't even be that bad without intuitive. It's the combination with intuitive that makes it
I might
insane.
nerf intuitive, actually.
Because, well, the other thing that you could nerf is the support specialization. Because that's the other thing that reduces the cost of support modules. So that's how you end up with like the constructors and colony ships on smalls. That is a classic
game design problem that we ended up with this thing. Wow, I'm out in the middle of nowhere. Is
this in combination with this
ships,
is
we wanted to get colony ships cheap enough early game to where people could build colony ships, but we wanted them to be able to. But we didn't want the blueprint to start putting on lasers and and all these crazy things. So we made it so that you could start making more advanced colony ships after you've gotten that tech. But the problem is, essentially what that did was open up this giant exploity hole. And once we've done anything with mass, it causes problems because people are like, well, I can't build my custom colony ship anymore. And then the problem is the people who play the game the most are the ones who get bit by that.
What is going on in this game?
Oh, there must have been a bunch of races that have no home planet.
Oh, funny.
Because I have
because it's like a super weirdo galaxy.
Yeah.
Funny. All right.
A bunch of minor races just died because they don't have a home.
Chibiabo says that there's a thread on the forums, blah, 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 about the galactic events. That's great. We'll check it out. Let's see. Just a couple questions, and then we're going to call it because it is 4, and we've been streaming for an hour because we are too good to you people. Tell you what, because I have to take a bunch of screenshots after this, which I'm not very happy about. Taking screenshots is like being sent to game dev.
That's not a good attitude to have. You can't take good screenshots unless you love taking screenshots.
You want to take my screenshots, Paul?
What for Ashes?
Yeah.
Honestly, I don't know anything about Ashes, really.
All you need to know is
someday
that
I'm
stuff
gonna be
blowing up looks cool.
Learning to use that engine for
someday.
Something else.
Someday. All right. Enough about the trials and tribulations of my terrible job. Everybody's so mean to me. Not really. I'm actually doing quite fine. All right, let's see. Oh, weird. Okay, this guy's seeing a lot of like UI lag on late game. Like when he has a bunch of colonies, he says like adding something to a construction queue on a planet takes like 10 seconds. Like there's something going on with your machine and or your game because that should not be happening.
Yeah, that's UI shouldn't
That's
lag
bad.
in any way for that. Is this not even in multiplayer. That is interesting. So it doesn't happen before. I'm assuming he means. What the heck?
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure. The best thing, honestly, would be to again post on the forums. Especially,
I thought this planet had 2 shields. I'm like, oh
that
my god,
kind of
the
looks
HUD
that way,
is
doesn't
broken.
It? Funny.
Okay. Yes, that is weird. That would definitely be a issue that we would like to look into. So if you can either make us a save and let us know, and report it as a bug, that'd be very helpful.
All right. Let's see. One last question, and I didn't get to everything, for which I apologize. I'm like 20 minutes behind in the chat, and I apologize for that. But it's kind of a jump in chat today, so that's kind of the deal. But just a little closing note. Does it inspire you as a dev to see players become extremely good at your game and even find tricks that you never considered in your game?
It inspires and depresses. Where you go, crap. And what's even worse, and occasionally this happens, very rarely, where I go, no one will ever do that, so I don't have to worry about it. And then 5 seconds later,
you should know better than that, Paul.
So that is kind of what, you learn is if it's there, if there's a hole, someone will find it.
They certainly will.
So, that's kind of what we do now. I mean, and now that the game is out, a lot of our time is spent finding the holes that the players discover and patching them.
Right. So, all right. Well, anyway, thanks for everybody for coming. This is a fun stream. Probably sounds like Paul wants to get on next week. I probably won't be here, but you'll get Ray or Kristen filling in on the host side of the table of our super scientifical, amazing streaming studio.
Are you going to be getting me the skinny on Fallout 4?
I don't actually have a pass to the show. What we're doing is offsite, so no.
Are you going to go to El Torito and get carne asada?
I've never been to El Torino.
I will give you directions.
I might see if we can get out to Mastro's, which is because we're staying out in Beverly, and Mastro's is out there, and it's a really
there's
really
a
good
lot of good
steakhouse.
Restaurants.
There's so many good restaurants.
There might be some stream people in our chat right now that are from California, like El Torito's garbage. It's fake Mexican food. Don't care. Carne asada.
Okay.
I say this to everyone on our Twitch. If you live anywhere near an El Torito, go get the carne asada.
All right.
Carne asada there is the one thing I miss from California. And every time I go to California, I beeline there and get it.
Fair enough.
It's delicious. Oh, and get a Long Island to go with it.
Probably what I'm going to do, I'm going to try to get out to the, what is it called? The ABC Tofu House or something like that. It's a Korean barbecue place. I don't actually get, I do get a tofu soup there. But otherwise I get a bunch of like bibimbap and
carne asada. That's all I care about.
Carne asada, you heard it here first. All right, thanks everybody. We'll see you next week, or Paul will see you next week. Yeah. And have a good weekend. We'll be back on Tuesday with Servo, Wednesday possibly with Sorcerer King. I'm not sure if that's going to happen because I'm going to be in LA, and we'll see. But then Thursday Off-World, Friday Galciv. Good times for all. Keep an eye on us at E3. We're going to be showing off some cool stuff. I'm pretty excited. You'll get to see me with stage makeup on, so that's terrifying.